All right, I think we can get started. Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to continue my talk around N64 Homebrew development. I'm going to go very quickly on what we discussed yesterday, and then I'm going to continue the Minesweeper game. So just in a nutshell, yesterday we went over the N64 architecture, the main components that are inside the N64. We then talked about the cartridge, what you need to know as soon as you want to put your game on an actual cartridge. And we also talked about the library. It's called LeapDragon that we're using today to build games. Then we started coding the game, and today we're going to continue on this. So I'm going to pick up where we left off yesterday as a reminder. So if I make the ROM and then I start the ROM in the emulator, this is what we have. So we place bombs randomly. They are displayed with a red square, and a gray square is when there is no bomb. So I think the first step we need to do right now is to actually display the numbers on every cell that our bombs are near it. So you know the numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 that you have in every Minesweeper game. So to do this, it's basically going to happen in the init board function. Here we are setting the bomb, the current cell to be a bomb. At the same time, we want to look at all the cells that are around it and increase the number of basically bomb nearby. So I'm going to copy paste that tiny piece of code because it's a lot of ifs. Because for example, if you are on the side of the board, you want to make sure there is something on your left or there is something on your right. But basically, for example, here we're looking, is there a cell, the top left of the current cell, and if so, just increase the number of nearby bombs. So once we have this information in the cell, we can display it. So if we go to the draw board, again, what we did before is we had a black square to kind of do the border. And then if it was a bomb, we display red. If it was not a bomb, we would display light gray. So what we're going to do, in addition to the light gray, is to display some text. So basically, if on that cell there are things nearby, we want to display the text. So it's going to be some graphics grow. Character. Right, so what we want to do is just display a character. To do this, we're going to use, again, a method that starts by graphics, meaning it's not going to use the hardware subsystem, it's going to use the software subsystem. So one change we have to do to our function is we actually need the display for this one, so the display object that is here. We need to pass it to the drawboard function. And once we have the display, so we can, on the display, we can draw a character, and basically we're going to try to center it as best as we can inside the cell. So I think it's going to be something like this. So X, Y, and then the character. So since I want to display an ASCII character, I can just use starting from the letter 0, kind of, and then I'm just adding the number of things nearby. So this should display the character. One thing to mention is, as I said yesterday, at first we would attach the hardware subsystem, the RDP, to the display. Here we would do everything that is hardware related, and then the best practice is to do graphics after the fact. Here I'm going to cheat a little inside that drawboard function. I'm actually going to detach, do one graphic operation, and then reattach just after that. Because it's best not to use the graphics subsystem while you're attached to the display with the RDP. So let's see if we make it right. So I'm going to make the ROM and then start it in the emulator. And yeah, it looks about centered and about right. So again, every time we put a bomb, we look at all the cells that are nearby and we increase the number. And all those ifs that I just copy-pasted are, for example, in that case here, if we try to write at the bottom, the game is going to crash. So it's just some basic validation. Once we have this, I would say the board is set up okay, it's functional. What we want to do now is actually play with the game. So we're going to initialize the controller subsystem to be able to actually read input from the controller. So it's going to be controller init. And then, so here in the skeleton, we said get controller, we're actually going to do this. So it's the function controller scan. So, I mean, once you scan to get the state of the controller, it's going to go through all the 4 controllers if they're connected, get everything in memory and everything ready for you to use. And then you can do, I just need to find it, it's get key down or something like that. Yeah. Get key down. So you can, this will return me the keys or the buttons that were just pressed down in the last frame. So if you keep pressing the button, it's not going to return me that button every time. I just want to detect the one change. And so that's what you use. You also have gate keys up to know when buttons are released. You can get key pressed, so as long as they're pressed, you will know. But in that case, we just count the down function. So it's going to return us a structure that is straight from the library that contains all the state of all the downs button. And then I'm going to assume we only have one controller plugged in and it's in position 1. So I can look at all my keys at the controller in position 0, that is controller 1. And for example, the simplest thing I can do is if we press start, we're going to reset the game completely. And to do this, it's fairly simple. We just have to, basically we can call init board again on the same board, and it's going to erase everything, generate new bombs, and pretty much start a new game. So just making sure everything is working. We're going to try this. So again, I'm going to compile and run. So it's like before, and if I press start, it's basically going to regenerate a board every time. So we can get the state of the controller. Now we just have to, the next step would be to hide all the cells, so all the cells would be hidden by default, and then you move the cursor around to discover new cells. So I'm going to create a type alongside the cell type. We're going to have a type for the cursor. So this one is going to have just two int x and y. And I'm going to call it cursor. So we have the type here. When we create the board, we're also going to create the cursor. So initialize everything at 0, so it's going to start at 0, 0. And first we're going to display the cursor. So again, when we draw the board, we're also going to draw the cursor on top of it. So here I'm passing the cursor. And so basically, we're going to again make something fairly simple. Here in the draw, we go over every cell. As soon as we are on the cell that is our cursor, we're going to display like a square. So basically, if I'm currently at my cursor position, here I'm going to display a white square that is going to be a bit smaller than the square that are already here, so we can see what's behind it. So basically, just moving the offset of the square and making it slightly smaller. And right. So let's try that. So for now we cannot move the cursor, but the cursor should still be displayed on the top left square. So yeah, I don't know if you can see over there, but here there is a white square inside that cell. Let's put like black so we can see better. Okay, next step would be to actually move the cursor. So here we have the state of the controller. We handle the start button, for example. Now we can also handle basically the D-pad. So if we press up, what we want to do is basically increase, decrease, so go up on the Y for the cursor. And once again here we have to make sure we don't go overboard. So if we were on top, for example, and we do minus minus, it's going to be equal to -1. So again, to make things very simple, I do explicit ifs all the time, but basically if it's -1, I will set it to 9. So if I go up and I'm on top, it's going to go at the bottom. And it's 9 because the board is 10 by 10, and so it goes from 0 to 9. So I'm going to do the 4 direction quickly. Yes. Thanks. I'm going to do the same. So if we go down, we're going to increase Y, and if it's equal to 10, I'm going to move it to 0. Left, it's the same on X, and then right. Right, almost there. Alright, so here we're moving the cursor. Let's give it a try to see if it's actually working. So yeah, I can move the cursor around. So next step, once again, would be to hide all the cells and at the same time handle that when you press A on a cell, it's going to make it visible. So the second part is quite easy. If we press A, basically what we do is take the board, we look at basically the current position of the cursor, and we say that is visible. So it's all what we have to do. And then I'm going to update the draw function. So it basically hides everything by default, unless it's visible. So it's going to happen here. Basically, what we do if the cell is not visible, we're going to display dark gray. And otherwise, we're going to handle everything else. Let's try that. Alright, so now everything is hidden, and if I press A on a cell, it's going to show me that cell. So we have the beginning of Minesweeper working. One thing that, for example, is unlike the real game is on the top left here. In Minesweeper, if you display a cell that has nothing on it, that is not near anything, it's supposed to grow and display stuff around it in a nice way. So it's so we're going to add this now. And basically the easiest way we can do it is in our main loop, every time we want to display the board, just before displaying it, we can have a function that will update the board basically and look at every cell that is empty. And if it's visible and it's empty, it's going to show what's around it as well. So once we have the controller, and once we change everything, here we're going to make a new function called update board. It's going to take the board, and it's going to be should be a fairly small function. So to update, just need the board, and then it's for the cursor, and so it's going to copy paste some stuff. It's going to go over every cell of the board, and so basically, if the current cell, the cell we are on, is if the cell is visible and there is it's not near anything, so if it's visible and if it's near nothing, then what we want to do is try to show the cells around it, and it's going to look very similar like this big if. Once again, we don't want to crash if we go outside of the board. And what we do is basically, if the cell is near nothing, the cell next to it, we're going to make them visible. So to change that by, and this function will be called at every frame. So it should make some sort of animation instead of showing everything at once. So let's see what it does. All right, so we have the game. So if I press here, yeah, it was a bit quick on the simulator, but basically what happened is we put that cell to visible. There is nothing around it, so the next time the frame came, it showed those, and once again those, and it stopped as soon as there is a number. So yeah, we have the game pretty much working. What we don't handle is any sort of game over or showing like hitting a bomb, like here.
Plus, if you're scanning left to right and top to bottom, it'll be picking up the ones that have already been set from its neighbors, even on the first round.
I'm sorry?
Won't it be also picking up from its neighbors on the first round?
Yeah, probably.
Part of why it's so fast.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, here there was obviously a bomb, and we did nothing to it. So we're just going to implement that very quickly, and then we can. The next step would be to stop using colors and actually move to using actual sprites and actual images. All right, so. I'm just going to use a simple bool to know if we are game over or not. To start by not being on game over. Well, if we press start, it's going to reset this stuff. So if we restart everything, we're going to not be in game over. What we want to do is all those up, down, left. We just want to handle this when the game is not done. So. This will only happen if game over is false. And yeah, basically here we're going to this is where we press A and where we make a cell visible. In addition to make it visible, if the cell is actually a bomb. who are going to set the game over flag to true. And then to display something, here just in the middle in big, I'm going to show a game over text in the middle of the screen. So if it's game over, let's display some text that is centered in the middle of the screen, and that's going to obviously say game over. And for the color, this time we want a background, so let's put the background as black. Right. Let's try it again. So once again, if I hit a bomb, yeah, I didn't pick the best color, but it put game over here in the middle, and I cannot do anything besides pressing start. The one thing I forgot, as you see here, as soon as I change the game over, every text also has the dark background. What I want to do is, here, I basically want to reset the color for the next time to be simply dark gray without any background. So let me try that quickly. Here the game is kind of working. You can handle game over and stuff, but here everything it's not using any asset per se, it's just drawing colors or using very crude graphics to display numbers. What we will do next is use images, so it looks a bit nicer. So here I have this set of images, it goes from 0 to 8, the bomb when it's hit, and the cursor. And we also have flags and the hidden types. So like yesterday, I'm going to go back to the slides quickly. I'm going to use a few snippets. I'm going to copy-paste a few functions that are very useful and that I don't want to type all the time. So basically, this function is going to at once open a file that we will store in the ROM, make sure the file is okay, so the path is correct. Then it's going to look at the size of that file, it's going to allocate memory as big as the file. It's going to put the content of that file in memory and then close the file. So all those functions, DFS, open, size, everything, they are from the libdragon library. And we're going to just add this one that does everything for you. And the next snippet we're going to copy-paste is, it's very similar to what we did yesterday, where we had a snippet to display colored rectangle. Here it's going to display a sprite with the texture. So once again, it's going to first make sure the RDP is in the right mode. It's going to ready to accept textures. Then this sync makes sure the RDP is ready to accept new commands. Then we load the texture in memory, and then we display it at the correct position. So let me just copy-paste those two functions at the top of the file. All right, put them here. And then the next step would be to actually add those PNGs to the game. So I'm going to open the current directory. And so how this skeleton is set up is, sorry, let me close this. Basically here this is how I set up everything. We have a resource folder, we have where you put the graphics and the sounds if you want to put sounds. And here basically I'm just going to drop all the PNGs in that folder, remove that text file. In here, let me open this. If I make the ROM, it's going to be slightly more complicated than before. So basically, the makefile is going to look at every PNG file in that folder, and it's going to call a tool that comes with the libdragon library. It's going to take that PNG and make it a sprite that is format compatible with the N64 It's the raw, very raw format. And here I'm just saying use the 16-bit per pixel, so it's the same value I used over there when I initialized the display. So if you put 32 here, you will need to tell MKSprite to also use 32, the size of 32-bit per pixel. And so for every PNG, it's going to create a sprite. It's going to drop it in the file system folder. And then here at the bottom, you see, again, it's a tool that comes with the LibDragon library, make DFS, and it's going to make our file system image. And so it's adding every sprite I just added to that file system image. So now, the ROM should be a bit bigger, but all the sprites are inside it. And to finish on the copy-paste, I'm going to copy-paste one last thing because very tedious is loading all the sprites at once. So we're going to do this once. Again, it's a very small game, so as a shortcut, I'm going to load all the sprites at the beginning in the main, and the sprites will be around for the entire duration of the game. Obviously, in a much bigger game, you can't load all your sprites at once. You need to private screen, or you need to be very careful what you load because memory is very small. But anyway, here we created 14 sprites, and for the 14 sprites, we just used the function I just explained to load the sprite in memory and put it here. And then switching to sprites, it's actually easy, I would say. So the only change is going to be that draw function. We're going to give it the sprites, and we won't actually need the display anymore because we won't use any graphics function anymore in that draw board. Everything will be done by the RDB on the hardware side. So if I go to the draw board, and I remove the display. So basically, here I'm going to use the function I just copy-pasted. So the draw sprite with texture. So I don't need that black square anymore. All the PNGs are 20 by 20. So if it's not visible, I'm going to basically display the correct PNG, and the correct PNG is the number 12. Again, if I had time, I would use define, just not use 12 like that, but to make things simpler. So I know hidden, it's the sprite number 12, so that's what I'm going to use. And we're going to do the same measurement for everything. So if it's a bomb, it's 9. And then basically, here, since the sprite empty starts at 0, the sprite 1 starts at 1, I can basically simply use the number I have in my cell to use the correct sprite. So let me find it. So here basically it's making things much simpler. Here I'm just putting the number of things that are near it. And I can remove the graphics, I can remove the details, everything. And let's keep the cursor like that for now. And I forgot something. And I don't remember what it is. Oh yeah, so again, since I'm using the DFS, I need to init that DFS subsystem, like every other subsystem. So I need to init it, and just need the default parameter to know when this file system image starts inside the ROM. Since I used everything default, I can just use this. And then, yeah, it looks a bit better. So every PNG is displayed, and yeah, so now you basically use PNGs. I mean, nothing too big, but so as to show you now, the game should run much faster because we are not displaying the numbers using the graphics subsystem. We still use graphics in a few places because it's easier right now, just the title and the game over. But those are the two things that are done so in software. Everything else is done in hardware, and it's much faster. So yeah, I'd say the game is working okay now. What we want to do would be to test it on a real N64. And once again, what I explained yesterday is that I'm using SD card that has Wi-Fi built in, so I don't have to go over there, unplug the SD card, and put the game inside. So hopefully, I don't know, Wi-Fi should be working. Here I can just do this, and this is very simple command. It just posted the ROM to my EverDrive and my SD card with Wi-Fi over there, and so it looks like it worked. So I'm going to go over there and see if the game actually runs on the N64. Alright, so here the game was pushed technically, so I just have technically to reset once. And you see that game is over there that we just made. So hopefully we'll start. Yeah. So as you can see, the emulator works very well because it looks exactly the same on the N64, and yeah, everything is working properly. I'm just going to reset to show you if we had more time. Yesterday I took a bit longer with the flag and everything working, so it's looking the same. But so, for example, here I have a version when I press B, I can put the flag in, and also I don't have one here, but if I press A on something that is already visible, it would make the rumble back, the controller rumble a little bit. So yeah, just to show you how easy it is to, once you have your game working, put it on the N64. It's really easy and it works great. And I'm going to go back to the stage. I have a few slides I want to show you before I take some questions. All right. Yeah, just wanted to talk about the community a bit and what's coming up next. So first, to talk about Leap Dragon, there is a very interesting fork that was made by someone named Conquer64. It's a different. I mean, it's too bad it's a fork basically. The new features he added are not yet in the original one. And it's kind of a hard fork, so it's not as easy to bring them back, but I hope someday they will. The few features, he added many features, but I think the most interesting one is the sprite flip, so you can have one PNG and display flipped. You can zoom, it supports better transparency, and also 4-bit per pixel and 8-bit per pixels. The default library only does 16 and 32. So yeah, obviously 4-bit per pixel is going to be pretty much grayscale at this point, but if you can put many more, the game will be much smaller if you use 4-bit per pixels. So I think that's some cool features. Other features are in that fork, and I hope at some point he will or someone else will take his changes and port them back in the main library. Next one I want to talk about is another brand new library called N64 Chain. It's also open source. This one was made by the main author of the emulator I'm currently using. And it looks very promising. Right now, it's very hard to make game with it. It's not complete yet, but I think it will get there, and it looks very, very promising. And just you can go there, and basically he started working on a working progress Game Boy emulator. He just took an open source emulator that was in C for PC, compiled it to the N64 chain, and I mean, I haven't tested it yet. It's running. I don't know how fast it's running, but it's running on the N64. Talking about emulator, I just wanted to mention that the library is not only used for games. So here we have 3 examples. The first one is fairly old, but just an example. Someone made some years ago an alternative menu for the flashcard, the EverDrive, that has much more features. You can display artwork, you can set your favorites, you can sort a bunch of stuff. It was made with the LeapDragon library. Also, a simple tool that many people use called controller test. It's used to test your controllers, as the name says, mostly to see how your joysticks are performing. And again, it was made with LeapDragon. And the last one, I'm eager to test. I just noticed it a few days ago. So someone basically made, again, a Game Boy emulator. But this one, what's very cool is you can basically plug the transfer pack, so the piece of hardware that came with Pokemon Stadium, that you can basically plug a Game Boy card in the back of the N64 controller, and Transfer Boy would read that card, read the ROM basically from the card, and play that game. So that could be a very nice way to play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on the N64 on your TV. Once again, I have not tested it yet, but from what I've read, it runs really well, and once again, it was done with that library. So yeah, you can make games, you can make applications, it's very versatile. Then I wanted to talk once again about physical release, because I mentioned it earlier. So yeah, most commonly you would just make a ROM, distribute the ROM, and people could basically put that ROM to a flashcard. What you could also do, if you plan on, I don't know, selling your game or just having something nice to display, you could actually put your game on a physical cartridge. So here, as an example, something I'm using is the website Retro Circuits. They sell an N64 programmer, as you see on the side. It's USB, very simple to use. And then you buy programmable PCBs that you basically put on the top here, and you can basically burn your game to the cartridge. It ties back to what we talked about yesterday with the size of the ROM chip, the size of the safe chip. When you buy those programmable PCBs, they come in different sizes, so you need to know what is your game made of before buying. Like this one, for example, is 32 megabytes ROM chip. So, for example, on this one, you cannot burn Resident Evil 2 on it. It's too big. And this one comes with 2 EEPROMs. If you want to use other save method, as we talked yesterday, like from flash RAM or SD-RAM, you would have to go on the back on that card and solder the battery if you want to use one, and the chip if you want to use one. But it's possible to basically burn games. They obviously also sell cases. Yeah, so the slides are over there. The code I pushed on Twitter, on GitHub, sorry, is also over there if you want to take a look. And yeah, I have taken any questions you have? Yeah.
Has anyone done much with like 3D rendering through the hardware?
Not really with the library. It's definitely possible, but it's quite complicated. So most of the homebrew you would see out there, or the demo scene, they have crazy 3D stuff. It's mostly using either assembling directly or using the Nintendo SDK, but it's proprietary code and stuff like that. Yeah. Yes?
What's your favorite game or project that you've worked on for the
I mean, it's really a hobby for me. You know, I'm making very small games, not too big games. So it's very small. I think one of the best homebrew port that was made with that game is a port of Flappy Bird that someone made like a year or two ago, and it runs really great. The person who did it made a few blog posts about it. They explained how they basically took the iOS app, took all the sprites and everything from the iOS app directly and converted everything to run on the N64. So it's really a nice port because he explains everything and it runs great. So I would say, at least for homebrew, it's Flappy Bird. All right then, thank you very much for coming. Oh yeah, one more question?
Tying into one of the previous questions, do you know if there is currently any documentation anywhere on hardware-based polygon rendering using assembly and not the Nintendo SDK?
No. Documentation, honestly, no. I would go on IRC. Most of the communities on IRC and a few people are hardcore assembly, so they do stuff, but documentation, no, unfortunately. Yes?
Where can we find you on IRC?
So if on IRC, if you go on the N64 dev channel, I'll be on it under the name like PRGE 107. So yeah, or if you go on my website PRGE 107.games, you see my Twitter and stuff like that, so, to connect. Yes.
Do you think we'll see full-fledged homebrew games come out in the next 5 years for N64?
Yeah, I think so. I think the library is getting new features all the time. It's quite old, but it's still in active development, I would say, and it's getting better and better every day. Especially the fork from Conquer 64. It's very great. He made some homebrews using his fork, and it's quite nice. So yeah, I think so. The thing is, the N64 is not the most popular console, for sure. The scene for NES and Super NES is much bigger. But I hope that in the next few years, I don't know, I think it's Retrobit is making a clone N64 console. I think as soon as the clones N64 console are out there, or if one day Nintendo makes an X64 Classic, the N64 would come back in popularity and hopefully more homebrews would come. So yeah, I think we could see a full game. Great, thank you very much. Thank you.